Welcome to episode 1 of Against the Storm. So what is this game? What is it? It's a roguelike city builder. Kind of. It's sort of its own thing. I'm going to go through the tutorial, the first part of the tutorial with you right now to kind of show it off and show you what this does. We'll make a brand new character, or profile I should say, and I'm going to give it the name of one of my old characters. Kicks. Now, any of you from the 80s will know specifically which game I'm referring to here. So this is a brand new character, rather brand new profile. And what we're going to do is just dive right on in.
The world is plagued by the Blight Storm, a vile cycle of destruction ravaging everything in its path. The only safe haven is the smoldering city where the mysterious Scorched Queen reigns. You are one of her viceroys, a pioneer sent into the wilds, tasked with establishing new settlements and acquiring valuable resources for the crown. Your goal is to help rebuild the smoldering city and secure the future of the Queen's subjects.
The Never-Ending Rains carries a magical charge with it. It's much too brief to read before it goes away. All right, WASD or the mouse to move the camera around. Neglecting your village will increase the Queen's impatience and bring her wrath upon you. Fulfilling your duties will increase the town's reputation, unlock new buildings, and eventually bring you to victory. Now, choose a new blueprint. Select the crown below. That's this. So this is where you choose which blueprint to acquire from those being offered. In the tutorial, you are only offered one. Each expedition starts with only a few essential blueprints. More will be given to you as you gain reputation points. Now, so they're calling it expedition. So this game, it's a series of expeditions where you're building a settlement from scratch up to a certain point where your settlement is able to survive on its own, and you go on as the viceroy to build another settlement somewhere else. So all of your settlements that you build still exist after you're done with them on the map. So there's a large strategic map, and then there's this small local map where is what you're building. So those exist, and I think you can even have trade between them, although I've never gotten that far in the game. And then after so many years, quite a few years, the blight cycle will come, and what will happen is a gigantic storm will wipe everything else out on the entire world except for the center citadel, or the smoldering city as it's called. And also, you work for your own antagonist in this game. It's very interesting. The queen of the smoldering city, who is your queen, is the antagonist of the story. So it's her impatience that you're fighting against. She wants you to build these little settlements quickly enough so that they're producing enough resources to be worthy of the Queen's support. So they produce the resources for the crown. The crown produces blueprints and certain supplies for the settlement, and that's the relationship that they have. And if you aren't quick enough, the Queen gets impatient with you, and you basically lose that settlement. So that is what the game is about, generally speaking. Each expedition starts with only a few essential blueprints. More will be given to you as you gain reputation points. Now pick the woodcutter's camp. Starting point for woodcutters going out into the wild to cut down trees. So you pick it. Press space to resume. So the game is paused. This is a game that you can do things with it. You can give orders. You can move around. You know how a lot of games will kind of freeze your view if you pause? You can't really do anything. This is very different. When the game is paused, you're actually still playing. So much of your actions will take place during the game being paused. And the reason for that is because these games are really quick. These cycles, these establishments that you're making, they're quick. They're only like 15 minutes, maybe. Well, I don't know. No, I mean 15, 20, 25 minutes total of actual non-paused play, but you can have it paused as long as you want. You can take hours to really think out your settlement. It all depends on you and what pace you want to play. So at the moment, it paused the game for me to show me that it's paused, and you press space to switch between pause and unpause. I mean, what other game lets you do that? Like where space is toggle between pause and unpause. Usually it's, the pressing the pause button or P or escape or other things, but space? So that shows you that it's a main feature of the game. Build a woodcutter's camp and explore the forest. You have to keep the fire going at all times. Now the fire is this fire. Small hearth. Okay. The heart of the colony is protected by the holy flame. Villagers gather here to rest, eat, and receive clothing. If the fire goes out, the people will lose hope. Now, what that means, practically speaking, in the game is their resolve will go down as a species. So individuals have resolve levels, and the cumulative of individual resolve gets lumped into the species resolve. So up in the upper left corner, you'll notice there's 3 species. There's humans, beavers, and lizards. And each of these icons shows you stats about them. So we have 3 population. We have 3 builders. Builders are people who are not assigned to a specific task. They are free to build things. They call them free workers or builders. And homeless. So everybody's homeless because we don't have any houses yet. This number is the resolve. So you can see here that the resolve for the humans is 16, 11 for the beavers, and 7 becoming 8 with lizards. Future resolve 8, yes. That is something I'm trying to remember what it means, but I'm not quite remembering. It's been about a year since I've played this. So the resolve, increase resolve to grow your reputation. So each species has like a threshold line, and I think it's this little tick here at the very top, which means it's not happening during the tutorial. But normally that little tick mark is down here somewhere, which means that when the resolve goes, this little green bar goes past that tick point, your reputation will grow. And what you want to progress in this game, in your settlement building, your outpost, is you want your reputation to grow up to a certain point, and then once it's reached a certain point, you're free to leave, and you're no longer managing this settlement, and you're on to the next one. You basically win the round. That's what that's essentially saying. So up here, you have total population of 9, total number of free workers 8, because one of them is assigned to the hearth itself. And I think that's a lizard by default. So you'll have a lizard whose job it is to maintain the small hearth, and he's not free to do other things. 9 homeless. So we got to get on building houses. But the first thing the tutorial wants us to do is to build a woodcutter's camp. And the way you do that is you go down to camps. This down here is your menu of things to build. So if you click camps, you'll notice that woodcutter's camp is here because that's the only building we know at this time. What does it cost to make a woodcutter's camp? Well, it costs 2 parts. Now, parts are a non-buildable resource that is granted to you by the Crown for starting out as embarking, or as rewards for certain milestones or things like that. That's what parts are for. You can't make parts, but it costs parts to build camps and other things. So that limits the amount of growth that you can do. You can't just expand exponentially like you can in a normal city builder or a real-time strategy game or anything like that. Starting point for woodcutters. Okay, here we go. So we're going to pick the woodcutter's camp, and we're going to place it down right about here. Now notice that it has an arrow, and I can rotate it around. It looks like it's not square, but it is square. It's a 2x2 grid. So we'll just put it there. Oh, you see that one of the 4 tiles is red? That's because there's a tree in that spot, so you can't put it on top of other things. You can put it on people because they'll get out of the way, but you can't put it on anything that's firmly in place. So we'll put it right there. Now what that does is it gets the construction started, which looks like this. And this is a framework where free workers will take supplies and bring them over here, and then they'll start building it. So it requires 2 parts. Those are the supplies. They'll bring the 2 parts over. Everything is moved by an actual character in the game. It's not moved magically. There's no logistics that just magically happen, except for the fact that the warehouse holds all your stuff, and you can make a secondary warehouse and they share the same inventory. That's about the only magic moving that there is that I'm aware of in the game. Everything else, things are carried manually by hand by your characters. So we will unpause, and somebody, a human in this case, is going to go over to the warehouse. They're going to pick up a box of parts. They're going to bring it down here, and the human is going to put it inside the building, and then other humans, or anybody, characters will come along and they will use those parts and build the woodcutter's camp. Comes out of the ground like that, and then bam, just like that, your woodcutter's camp is done. Now you can click on it. There's nobody working there. So new orders. We'll hold that thought for just a moment. So the alerts show up here on the left, and it says periodically you'll be assigned new orders from the Citadel. Select the envelope icon in the upper right corner to check out new objectives. That would be this. Now here are your orders. These orders are coming. They haven't come yet, but they're coming. And I'm pretty sure that once you've completed all the orders, that your reputation will be sufficient to have won the game. Might be true that in more advanced difficulty levels, you have to do more than just complete the full set of locked orders. So in this case, and part of the tutorial, these orders are super easy. And we'll just run through these real quick to show you how that works. Now, this game is really, really good with tooltips. So whatever you mouse over, it shows you exactly what each thing means. Woodcutter's camp. The starting point for woodcutters, yeah, we know that already. So we have 1 woodcutter's camp. You can see it's red. Out of 2, we need to make 2. And we need to have wood in woodcutter's camp. We need to produce 10 wood in the building. And as a reward, we will get 3 new beavers that join the settlement, and we will have a cornerstone that we will be given. A cornerstone is basically a buff for your settlement. And what this cornerstone means, reinforced axes. Woodcutting is a lot easier. Woodcutter's camp production is 35% quicker, which is great. Also, you get Queen's Grace, which is a reputation buff, or bonus, not buff. It's a reputation bonus of 1. So your reputation goes up by 1, and every full reputation point you acquire lowers impatience. I think it usually lowers it by 1. So as the Queen's Impatience grows, and if the Queen's Impatience gets to the top of the bar, you lose. But every time your reputation goes up by 1, the Queen's Impatience goes down by 1. So that can hold that off. And you can hold it off indefinitely as long as your reputation keeps growing. So what we'll do is we'll get out of here, and we know what we have to do. We have to make a second woodcutter's camp, and we have to make 10 wood. Very easy. Now to do that, let me pause. To do that, you click on the woodcutter's camp, and you'll notice that it brings up the interface. The interface says we can move it. If we want to move it to another location, we can deactivate it if it's not built yet and we want to hold off building for other reasons. It shows you what it's storing. Storage is empty. Options are locked for the tutorial. And here is the important thing that we're after right here. There's 3 work slots. So up to 3 people can work in the woodcutter's camp. And they can be whatever race you want, whatever characters you have that are not already assigned to something else. So once they are assigned here, they will stay assigned to here until you remove them. So let's go ahead and click on this. And you see that it brings up a little interface where we can choose which race to pull the worker from. And this little wood icon next to the beaver is indicating to you that there's a buff to the woodcutter's production capability. So it makes more sense to put a beaver into this particular camp than either of these other 2 races. So let's do that. Now you'll see the spinning icon around the beaver. That's basically means proficiency. This worker has a 10% chance of doubling his yield. That's important. Because every time they go through their production cycle, they produce 1 wood. Well, there's a 10% chance he'll produce 2 wood in that particular cycle. Now let's put a human in here and you'll see that there's no such thing. There's no proficiency bonus for the humans or the lizard. Nothing. So you want beavers in here. So we put beavers in all 3 places and that uses up all our beavers. And you'll notice that beavers, free workers, is 0 because I don't have any free beavers to work on anything besides cutting wood. So at this point, the game is still paused. We can make another woodcutter's camp. And we'll put it right here. How about that? So you can do all kinds of stuff with game paused. It's really reduces the amount of panic tension that you might get if you just can't handle the amount of multitasking that the game is demanding of you. So you can always pause and treat it more like a turn-based thing. Because I don't know of any game that lets you do that, honestly. Because you know how turn-based games, you can take your time, you make your move, you click done, like Civilization, same thing. And then the game happens and then it's the next turn. Real-time games are more multitasking demanding, where you have to react on the fly to things. This is a hybrid of both because you can treat it like a turn-based game or you can treat it like a real-time game, whichever is your preference. So now that we have this up, it's time to unpause. Everybody's going around doing their thing. The beavers are chopping trees. We got a human over here building the other woodcutter's camp. Tree goes down. They carry the logs inside the woodcutter's camp. We open it up. We see that there's 7 logs already. It holds 10. What happens when there are 10 is somebody is going to take 5 because a worker can carry, I think, up to 5 of an item, of a product, from the building that produced it to the warehouse. And the warehouse is where everything is physically stored for further use. Now, if you didn't do it this way, then basically what would happen is they would get a piece of wood and they would walk the piece of wood all the way to the warehouse, which would be a really lengthy walk. It's better that they just walk to the woodcutter's camp and then somebody else walks all 5 over to the warehouse. So that's more of an efficiency thing. It's rather clever for the game. So here we go. If I pause the game, I wonder if I can click on him. Look at that, I can. All right, so what's he doing? They even have names. I didn't even realize that. Colby Ashkin, woodcutter. Focus on unit. Okay, so future resolve. His resolve, see? His resolve is 1. Negative effect 0. So that contributes to the resolve of the beavers. And so this is useful for seeing what their needs are and what kind of other things going on. He's got +1 resolve from the pyre, keeping the fire going. Lizard firekeepers are very adept at ancient rites, so that's why lizards are better at that fireplace. The hearth. So anyways, that's great. So if I look at the camp again, you can see the workers and what they're specifically doing. This guy is moving goods to the warehouse. This guy here is also moving goods to the warehouse. This guy right here is gathering. So they will cycle what they're doing. And you can see that happen as I unpause. Okay, now if I pause again, fetching goods to store. So he's coming back to the woodcutter's camp to get more wood goods to store in the warehouse. Now all 3 of them are moving goods to the warehouse. That's why it's been emptied. Now you'll notice that the trees, lush trees. So you can even click on trees. Check it out. So what does a tree what happens with a tree? It's got 2 what is called charges. So when a woodcutter gets a piece of wood from it, or when a woodcutter acts on the tree, let's just say he acts on the tree, and he can do it twice. When he does it twice, the tree falls down. So the first time it does it, he gets wood from it, but the tree is still up. The second time he does it, the tree is done. And charges is an important concept for natural resources in this game. So from here you can see, I can't move my mouse, but you can see that I've got a wood, 100% for the wood, 15% for, I think that's resin, 10% plant fiber, 5% eggs. So those are the odds when a charge is complete. Those are the odds of you collecting additional resources in addition to the wood. So that's how it works. In fact, I think we're getting 2 wood. That might be why it's growing so fast. Okay, so if you notice, it says you have a wood plus 100% chance of a second wood. So every time you get a charge, you're getting 2 wood from it. That's important. That's from this kind of tree. I think other kinds of trees give you different resources. So there you go. That's how that works. Orders are ready to complete. So over here, the alert is telling us that we have an order that is done. And over here in the orders on the upper right, you can see that the 2 of 2 woodcutters camp is complete. And we've got over 10 wood from them. And so the orders are ready to turn in. So what happens now is you go to the orders tab, and this has got the deliver button highlighted. So this is enabled. You can deliver it. You don't have to deliver it immediately, because what ends up happening is down here on the bottom of the screen, you see my reputation, it says 0. Now, because one of the rewards for this order is reputation, you get a reputation point when you deliver this. That will bring us from here to 0, from 0 to 1. And you can see the Queen's Impatience growing. It's growing at a rate of 0.15 per minute, which is really slow. And the Queen's Impatience is currently 0.31. Now, one of the effects of gaining a reputation point is the Queen's Impatience will be reduced by a whole point. So watch what happens when I click deliver. Now, oh, it's starting from the right. I thought it started from the left. Never mind. Okay, so reputation is 1, like I said. We have the blue bar, it's beginning. And also, every single one of these little nodes here, once the reputation gets to that point, you get a new blueprint. I think it's a new blueprint. So you can choose a new building, which is the whole point of the game. You choose more buildings, you choose more technology that you can now build. And the Queen's Impatience is 0. All right, so what is the objective now? Exploring the wilds. We have to open up 2 glades, and we have to have 5 beavers as woodcutters. I think that's what it's saying. And the alert is telling us to mark trees for harvest. So to cut through the forest and reach glades faster, you can mark certain trees for felling. Select the axe icon or press F. On the right-hand side of the lower HUD, drag the pointer over trees. Choose a blueprint. You can choose a new blueprint as a reward for earning reputation points. Press the pulsing number on the reputation bar at the bottom of the screen. Okay, we'll do all of those. So currently, we have this objective. We have to cut through the forest to discover 2 glades. And this one says assign 5 beavers as woodcutters. And as a reward, 3 humans will join the settlement. Because you notice that we have 3 new beavers from the previous reward. Also, you get a pack of meat. Because guess what? Your characters in the game actually eat, so they require food. And you gather food, you're rewarded food, you trade for food. It happens in many different ways. So let's do the 2 things it's asking for us to do. First of all, we will choose the new building, which is the shelter. And it can accommodate any villager, but won't satisfy the needs for species-specific housing. Has to be built near hearth. Can house 3 residents. So we pick it. Now we can build shelters, which is really important. Now let's go down and get those shelters queued up. We will put one here, one here, and one here for now. Now, shelters are a bit cramped, especially in the early game when you haven't opened up anything yet. But we've queued up the shelters and we have 8 free workers to build them. It will be easy peasy, especially since we have 24 wood, and shelters require 10 wood each. So that's the construction cost. No parts, just wood. So the other thing it wants us to do is it wants us to mark trees for harvest, and you press F, or this little axe down here, and you just drag it over the trees, and that will open up a glade, because they will prioritize the cutting of these trees over the other trees. And we will open up this one as well, because we want to open 2 glades. And also we will assign more woodcutters. Actually, I got an idea. Well, 3 beavers again. So now we have 6 beavers that are woodcutters, and I'm going to unassign these. You can hold down Alt to unassign trees to be cut. And we'll cut through this one because it's quicker and it's closer to this camp. Alright, unpause. We got Lizard over here putting wood, carrying wood to the houses to be built. Meanwhile, these guys are cutting trees, and these guys are cutting trees. Everybody's busy. Everybody's being productive. And this lizard, I think this might be our firekeeper. Yeah. Yeah, he's working the fire. We'll talk about the small hearth later and how it works. Houses are going up. Homeless population is going down. You know, I'm actually going to have to make a 4th one, aren't I? So let's make another house, another shelter. We'll put it here. Because I think we're going to need 4, right? Because we've got 12 population, and each one holds 3, so we need 4. All right. What's going on? We got a glade open. That's what happens. The game is paused because a glade has been opened. This glade. So you'll notice that all the glades have fog over them. You can't see what's inside until you open it. So once your characters have cut through the trees to open a glade, We get a notification in the beginning that will expire on its own, but you can hover over that to see what the contents of the glade is. In this particular case, we have 3 small root deposits, each with 15 charges. Right mouse button to dismiss. So each of these, if I click on it, you can see that it has 15 charges, which means you can work it 15 times. For trees, you can work them 2 times, if you recall. So 15 working charges, each one gets a root and a 20% chance of herbs. That's what you get. So we'll unpause that. A tangled net of living vines requires a camp with a star recipe or better, a 1-star recipe or better. That's what the roots. And you can gather them with a forager's camp or a small forager's camp, neither of which we have. Now, one thing that you can do if you don't like waiting is you can actually speed up the game and still pause it. So you can go up to 1.5, 2, or 3 times normal speed. See, and everybody goes quick. Now we got another glade open. This one has a small flax field, 2 small flax fields, and 2 small clay deposits, each with 20 charges. Click on these and you can see each charge gives you a piece of clay, a 50% chance of a piece of copper ore, and a 20% chance of roots. And actually it makes sense. You know, the things that you get as a chance actually makes sense. It's really neat. So here, imagine that you're working a flax field. Every time you work it, you're going to get a piece of flax, for sure, or plant fiber they call it, and you have a 25% chance of getting a bunch of clay, or a unit of clay, and a 20% chance of getting a unit of insects. And that's because you're digging plants out of the ground. You're going to have clay, you're going to have insects. And you can use those as resources. So these things are a probability of getting them. And that's a really interesting part of the game. So you'll notice now that because I've sped it up, everybody's going super fast unless I'm paused. So, you know, if you don't like watching them buzz around that fast, you can, you know, twice double speed, 1.5, or just normal speed. I like normal speed for now. I think it makes it look cool. You can kind of follow along with what they're doing and watch them. Orders are ready to complete. Here we go. We got the 2 glades and we got the 5 beavers. So at this point, we can deliver the second objective. Deliver. Now, with that, I think I'll do one more, and then I'll split the episode. So the next one, Small Forager's Camp, it wants us to make one of those. It wants us to get 5 vegetables, and it gives us a reward as a perk, which is +1 to the vegetable production. Down here, because our reputation is now 2, and the Queen's Impatience is back to 0, you have a real obvious now that the Queen is not going to get ahead of us, because these are not that difficult. Choose a new building. Guess what it is? The Small Forager's Camp. A small, crude version of a specialized camp. It's slower and can only gather small nodes. So sometimes you get a really large piece of clay or whatever. These small camps can't harvest those. You need a bigger camp for those, but that's more for later. These can collect grain, roots, and vegetables. Great. So we pick it, and now we own it, and we should build it. So we build a Small Forager's Camp. Now when you do that, you pick the Small Forager's Camp from the menu down here. You pick it, and you'll notice these little icons off screen. Let's just say I'm over here. You see these little icons over here? Those little root icons? That shows us where the resource is that this camp will actually be able to harvest. So if you're ever wondering, oh, where should I put it? Well, you can't put it here because it can't harvest those things. It can't harvest clay, it can't harvest flax. But over here, we have these icons pointing us to these roots. And it can harvest the roots. So what we'll do is we'll rotate the exit there. We'll put it here. And then when it's built, we'll assign workers and they'll just start harvesting roots. You can't actually assign the workers until it's finished being built, though. The game will give you read more. These are wiki links. So the game has its own internal encyclopedia. I guess winning and losing, you can click on it. It shows a very comprehensive game encyclopedia. Really, really useful. Tells you all about how the game mechanics work. Exploration, winning and losing. These are basic concepts of the game. The hearth, it explains what the hearth is and how it works. So you can read up on the game all, right there if you feel like it. But, it's not necessary, absolutely necessary for playing. Let's unpause. So we'll speed it up. Slow it down. So here we have our small foragers camp. I'm going to put a couple of humans in it. You'll notice that the human has a buff. So the human has a proficiency for gathering, whereas the beaver has a proficiency for cutting. So we'll put human here, human here. Oh, and look at that. We have 3 homeless people again, because we got more people after the last. 10% chance of doubling the yield. Same as before. Let's grab a shelter. And we'll put it here. There we go. You know what I should do? I should move this camp because I need vegetables. I forgot. Or I can just make a second one. Yeah, see those icons? I didn't notice the vegetable icons, but they're all over the place. They show you that the vegetables are also resources that you can put this next to. Mark trees for harvest. Oh, alright, well, let's mark these. So, with this, we'll put a couple more humans in. They will gather our vegetables. And if you don't want them gathering certain resources, you can uncheck these in the options. It's actually a very, very good interface. So pretty soon we should have our next objective complete. We just need to get those 5 vegetables. And you can see here, you can see them working. It shows their progress. It has this, everything is accounted for in this game. It's really amazing. So that's 2. We got 2 vegetables. So this person's having a coffee break. And this person's having a coffee break. And now this person's coming back to work, going to the resource node. Now this person is gathering. So you can see them, actually see them gathering. And you can see the progress bar with the little green bar that's going around the circle. This person's gathering. They're doing really well. We're going to have 2 more vegetables any moment now. Speed it up. Now they're going quick. I can speed it up more. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention. There's seasons in this game. And each season lasts a few minutes. So we are in a clearance. We just got done with we got done with the drizzle season and I didn't mention it. But there's a drizzle season. That's the start of the year. The clearance season of year 1 is what we're currently in. And it will last another 2 minutes and 28 seconds from you can see here. And then after the clearance season is done, we'll have a storm season. And then after that, the year is finished, it goes back to drizzle in year 2. So we'll keep a little bit of an eye on that. Got 5 vegetables now. There we go. So we can turn this in immediately. Oh, newcomers. Because when you complete it, you get your reward. I thought I had to deliver it first. That's curious. I'll have to look into that. So when newcomers come, sometimes newcomers show up. Different things trigger them. Newcomers show up and you have an option. Like Priven Runebeak here, which is an aptly named platypus man with runes on his beak, says, these people have been sent here by the crown. Which group do you want to stay, Viceroy? The other will continue on to the next settlement. All right. Well, we can have a lizard and a beaver and these resources, or we can have a lizard or 2 lizards and a human and these resources. Green. Yeah. Well, you know, I think the later part of the tutorial has us using grain. Or it might not. It might not. It does, but I don't remember if it resets. So what we'll do is fine. Yeah, we'll just accept this. So we're going to get 3 new people again, which means that we should probably make a new shelter immediately. Yeah, where should I put it? Food supplies. Orders. Deliver. We get a new reputation point. And there we go. So that's the first 3 orders of the tutorial. And you can see what the next one is. We'll get to that in the next episode. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.